Now, when we talk about the different technologies that have come out over the years, it can kind of confuse you, and it would be too long of a video for me to make. I would have to make several videos about each type of metal detector. But in the beginning, we basically had a beat frequency oscillator. This is still relevant to this day, but they're usually used a little bit more towards finding what the soil conditions are for a good spot to be metal detecting in. So you're metal detecting more of a spot than an individual piece of metal. Because some metal detectors pick up mineralized soil, which can point out an area that are more rich in gold, perhaps. If you're looking for gold, or, the problem with mineralized soil is it's magnetic, and what that means is there's metal all over the place. It's going to excite the machine too much, and that's kind of the problem with beat frequency oscillator machines. They're not exactly pinpointers. That's and then the next technology that kind of became pretty popular to us. Keep in mind that the beat frequency oscillator was kind of developed in the 20s to find landmines, and then it was kind of kept quiet for around 50 years. And the technology was, I believe, patented around 1924, and then 1925 there was another patent. But really, as a hobbyist sort of thing, I kind of think of it as sort of coming into fruition around the 70s, maybe the 50s, and then kind of like more popular ones came out in the 70s. Now, in the 70s, we had some other stuff. Like, there was some pretty cool stuff that came out then, too. Like, the two box system is something that a lot of people that are metal detecting now need to think about, because what it does is you plug a box into the ground and then you have your machine that you sweep with. So this box is basically inducing current into the ground, and then with the machine you can look for deep targets. So when people think about, oh, well, the newer technology goes deeper, actually the older technology goes deeper, but there's limitations to that machine too. It can only find anything that's big enough. So it would probably have to be over this big to find it, but you could find it up to maybe like 6, 10 feet into the ground, 12 feet into the ground. So maybe you could find a really big piece of gold like that. A lot of people might not be thinking about that because they think their new fancy machine can do all this stuff. They leave the older technology behind that's actually pretty useful. So keep in mind those two box, as they're called. And that's actually how our radio detection machines work too. That it was sort of a two box system where you would clip your leads to a wire and induce a current into the wire and sweep over it. We were pretty much doing the same thing with the two box system. So that seems really interesting for me to get into. I want to buy one of those and see if I could actually locate a target where I have to dig for like a long time to ever get to it, like that would be pretty cool, right? I don't even know what it would be. And I don't know. It just seems like if I could just find one target and find something that far underneath the ground, that it might just be worth it for me to do that, because I'm weird like that. So the very low frequency machines were kind of the next big step in metal detection, and that's what I got. I got a very low frequency machine. what that does is in the coil, there's one coil that goes this way, another coil the same size that goes that way. And what you're doing is sending battery power through those coils, and those coils, you can hear the resonant frequency that you're putting into them, which is, like a pulse of energy going through the wire, transmitted into a speaker so you can hear it. And when that gets disturbed by a magnetic field, it will change the sound. The sound will still go through the wire, but it will be disturbed. So you can actually interpret how it was disturbed. It'll get louder if the target's closer, it'll be a little bit quieter if it's further down. It's still a useful technology that's very pinpoint sharp, and some people use those as pinpointers. I do. I don't have a pinpointer. I could just change the function on my machine to transmitter receiver, and it'll be pretty dead accurate. So accuracy started to go up, and that's still something that people are surprised by, is the very low frequency machines are very accurate. Now, the newer technology is pulse induction, where you're basically, this is harder to explain, but I'll try to. You're pulsing the frequency actually into the ground with battery power, and inducing whatever metal it is with power. Now, it happens very fast. That's the secret to how that works. Up to 1,000 times per second, maybe even more nowadays. 100 to 1,000 would probably be a typical range for those to interpret a pulse coming out of the machine, going back into your computer chip to interpret, was there something that changed the electrical field? I mean, you're inducing a pulse into a piece of metal which is not connected to anything. If you know anything about electricity, if it's not connected to anything, it's not connected to anything. So the computer chips are actually what's doing the interpretation of, was there anything underneath the ground? And I'm more impressed by the 2-box as far as, like, are things happening going deeper into the ground? Because that's usually where people go with it. They try to say, like, the newer machines go way down, man. Come on. The new machines, what they're actually doing better than the very low frequency machine like I have, is being able to cut through the black sand and the mineralized soil, because my machine gets too excited over that kind of stuff. It'll pick up a whole bunch of magnetic soil, which is just a big sheet of magnet, and my machine will be like, ah! It'll just scream, and you try to turn it down, it'll scream again. And I can't tell a single target from a whole wide area of mineralized soil. What the pulse induction machine's going to do is tell you through that what's going on. So that's where it's more sensitive than a very low frequency machine. It doesn't mean a very low frequency machine can't find metal. It finds metal left and right.